next up we have our next speaker, Jade. So Yi-Chan Jade Ho is an education PhD candidate. She's a researcher, she's an organizer. Jade has been a housing justice organizer for the past 6 years, working with the Vancouver Tenants Union and Vancouver's Chinatown, fighting against gentrification and racism. She's also a labor organizer with the TSSU. She's also a member of the Contract Worker Justice at SFU, a campaign demanding the end of outsourcing of food, service, and cleaning workers. Over to you, Jade.
Hi everyone. It's so good to be here. This is my first in-person event like this, and you have no idea, like the feeling of comrade getting together and really just feeling our collective rage and finding ways to channel that rage. I think it's just so important and something that I have really missed in the past 2 years. But of course, over the past 2 years, we also had a lot of struggle going on, and we are here to learn about that. And one of the campaign I wanted to talk to you tonight is a really young campaign that came out of Simon Fraser University, which I'm a part of. It's called the Contract Worker Justice at SFU. So the Contract Worker Justice at SFU, we are really a coalition of the cleaning and food service workers on campus with students, with faculties, and with larger community members. And this is really one of the first coalitions in a really long time at SFU that has all of the different parts of community involved in fighting for labor conditions. And what we are really fighting for is that we really want to end the outsourcing of food service and cleaning workers at SFU. And one thing that we all know that SFU, the university has really becoming a more and more neoliberal spaces. And this campaign is really not unique to SFU, but this is just one of the cases that I want to share with you guys about. And most of the workers on campus, most of the workers, the food service workers and the cleaning workers are mostly women, immigrant women, people of color, and so forth. And myself as a student at SFU, that over the years, I actually have been at SFU for 9 years now. And over the years, I really have depended on the labors of these women. Without them, the university literally will not work. So some of the consequences of outsourcing at SFU is that the companies, how they get the bid at SFU is actually SFU will choose the lowest bid company. So that means that the company, the things that they are out, their goal is profit. So in order to extract more profit, what the company do is they will take away things from the workers. So as a result, it creates a very unstable, very insecure, very precarious working condition for all of the workers. And on the other hand, for the university, for SFU, that means they can wash their hands of any of the responsibility that's happening at SFU. Something I don't know if folks know that starting this new year, we have a new president at SFU, and she is really gung-ho about the platform of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And while preaching the EDI platform, this is happening to some of our most precarious workers. One of the things that SFU did last year is they did a diversity meter. Yeah, I know, one of those things. A diversity meter survey, and they surveyed everybody, but they excluded a few groups of people. They excluded all of the teaching assistants who are, one of the most precarious workforce on campus. And of course, they excluded the food service and cleaning workers because they are not employed by SFU, so they don't have to include them. So this is just an example of how SFU has continued to wash their hands in taking responsibility for these groups of workers. So one of the first things that we did in our campaign last year, we came together actually in March, which it marks 1 year of the SFU pandemic lockdown. And the pandemic really has exacerbated a lot of these precarious working conditions for our workers. And so we came together last year in March, we're really young. And one of the first things that we did is we compared the collective agreement between our workers and the workers of UBC and the University of Victoria, because both in this university, they actually hire all of this worker in-house. And we found that in every single area, every single important area, our workers fall short of the other two groups of workers. That includes wage, includes benefit, and also benefit includes there's no child care access for our workers, which is really, really huge. Another big thing is that our workers also don't have access to parking, any parking subsidy. So because workers have to pay parking, sometimes their wage actually fall under minimum wage. So that was the first thing that we did as a campaign. We compared the collective agreements. And then the second thing that we did is we went out, we started talking to the workers. Many of the workers are actually very divided and very isolated. So for example, the cleaning workers, the company actually tell the cleaning workers that, the cleaning workers see students all the time, right? They see people when they go out and clean the university. One of the things that the company actually tell them is that when you see people, just say hello and goodbye. And if they ask you any question, even if you have worked in at the university for more than a decade, tell them that you're a new employee. So that, they are basically restricted from talking to people. But the thing is, all of the workers are feeling all of these angers, so they are really willing to talk with us and then, really want to bring light to their situation. So that was the second thing that we did in the campaign, is that we went out and speak to the workers. And this year in January, we published a report. I brought some physical copies here, but you can also find it under working conditions on our website. So we published a report in January outlining all of the working conditions that the worker were willing to share with us, and highlighting workers' voice and workers' stories within the report. And some of the things that the workers have highlighted is, first, they feel very silent and they feel very divided. It was actually really heartwarming to be able to work with the worker and talk with them. That they actually say that when they're hanging out with the students, when they see students, when they are talking to us or they are talking to the faculty, they do feel like a part of the SFU community. But when it comes to their working condition, they don't feel valued. They don't feel like they're being treated with dignity. Some of the biggest thing that they talked about is their wage. That majority of the workers are not paid living wage in their jobs, and that really affected their living conditions as well. So many of the workers who are women talk to us about how they really have to make really critical decisions for their children, right? Like that means that they cannot pick the best option that they want to pick for their children, and also benefit. Especially during the pandemic, a lot of this thing really started coming to light is health and safety issues as well. For the cleaning workers, for example, they said at the beginning of the pandemic that the company would just have them sign like a waiver saying that they have received COVID safety training, but then the company will actually send them into a room, like 10 people or 15 people at a time to do cleaning. And on the other hand, our food service workers, actually majority of the food service workers were laid off during the pandemic, and only a small workforce were kept for the residence dining hall. And at the residence dining hall, because they were so understaffed, they were not able to follow the COVID-19 safety. And on the other hand, they also have managers who refuse to wear masks, but then would penalize the workers when the workers maybe just have their masks down so that they can breathe a little bit and stuff like that. Sorry, I wanted to share one more story. Okay, this is what I want to say. I wanted to say that, but on the other hand, all of the workers that we talk to, they actually take so much pride in the work that they do. The cleaning ladies that we talk to, they treat each of the cleaning workers on campus, they have their own stations that they can take around. They treat their stations with a lot of respect, right? And then they are the one that tell us that they said the university without them, that it would not function, because while all of the researchers, while all of the faculties are doing their research, are using their computer, are using their labs, who is the one that cleans the lab to enable that the researcher can continue to carry on? So the worker knows what's going on and how important they are in this community. So one of the things that we did with our report is we also took it to the Board of Governors at SFU to talk about our own finding. And to our surprise, we actually got a few very supportive questions from the board members. However, I think the most important thing to talk about is the responses from the Vice President Finance and our President. That Vice President Finance actually said what we have presented is just a perspective. that they actually have employed a private company, Deloitte, to do a costing studies to see if in-housing was possible. However, one thing that folks need to know about this company, Deloitte, is that historically they have been favoring privatization, and also they are buddies with one of the employers of the cleaners employer best service. So some of the next steps that we are taking right now, we are really trying to build solidarity within the community. And one of the really heartwarming things that has came out from some of this connection is that we got connected with another group actually in London, England, in SOAS University. There was a similar campaign that was done in SOAS University. It's called Justice for Workers. And that campaign actually has went on for 14 plus years. And the cleaners, they were the one that organized themselves. And then during all this decades of organizing, the university have attacked them over and over again, including sending in the equivalent of ICE over there to deport some of the workers. But after all of that, the campaign won. So now they're in-house, and then they came to speak to us just last week, and then they really gave us so much encouragement to say that, when we are in the struggle, it's really difficult. Sometimes you really don't, sometimes you feel divided, sometimes you're scared. But once you feel the pain, and the pain turn into that struggle, that pain turn into collective power, is when we are going to win our campaign. So I also want to leave that with all of us tonight, and also take that for our campaign as well, just because we're still so young. But because of events like this, gathering like this, and also just talking to other workers, talking to students, we feel a lot of hope, we feel a lot of solidarity, so we also want to give that solidarity to everyone here. So thanks.